And now, it's BoomerLife, lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is BoomerLife on CIL 650.
Well, hello and welcome to Boomer Life here on CIL 650. On this episode of the program, we're going to focus on the many positive living options available to seniors in British Columbia. And it's a real treat to welcome back to our studio a panel from the BC Seniors Living Association, including its executive director, Marlene Williams. Hello again.
Hello, glad to be here.
And also from the board of directors from the BC Seniors Living Association, Alison Howard makes her first appearance on Boomer Life.
It's a pleasure to be with you today.
It's nice to have you with us. Marlene, tell us a little bit about the BC Seniors Living Association. I'm willing to bet, even though you've been around and you do good work, there are a lot of seniors in BC who don't even know you exist. So tell us about yourselves.
Great, thank you. BC Seniors Living Association, we were formed 12 years ago, and it is a association, a voluntary association for owners and operators that house seniors in independent living and assisted living.
Okay.
So we have 153 buildings all throughout British Columbia that they're provides services to seniors, and we actually, of those 153 communities, we house over 13,700 seniors that call those communities their home.
Sure. I want to just for comparison purposes, you said you've been around about 12 years. So if you're up to 153 communities across British Columbia now, how many did you have when you started out 12 years ago?
10.
Wow. So there's just a little bit of growth. And Alison, that says a lot, too, about the growth of the industry itself across Canada in the last 10 to 12 years.
People are really starting to understand what a viable and fantastic option retirement housing is and senior living housing is. It's growing exponentially, and rightly so. Obviously, because we're having a population that's aging and is looking for options, for lifestyle options. Yeah. But also because I think we understand that this is truly a lovely thing to be able to offer people and to provide options that really support them in a loving and safe and secure way.
Right. Marlene, is all of these standards, because there's this seal of approval that includes some pretty rigorous testing. You just don't go around slapping this on front doors because it looks good. You go and award the seal of approval after a community has worked hard to earn it.
Yes.
Do all member communities have the BC Seniors Living Association seal of approval?
When we started the seal of approval in 2009, it was an option for our members. And so a lot of the members jumped on board immediately because they knew that they were providing the highest standards of safety, security, and services for their seniors. So they wanted to be able to boast, they had the seal of approval designation.
Sure, yeah.
So it's 4 years old, and we have 87 communities. We have 153, so we're about 75%. However, those 153 communities, of that, there's probably about 25 new communities that have just joined the association in the last 6 months.
Right.
So usually after they're with the association for a year, then they come on board and then they do the seal of approval because it really is a industry self-regulated program. So we don't need the government to regulate us because we have the highest standards right now that our members volunteer to participate in.
Well, you see, you just took the next question right out of my mouth, Alison. I was going to say, where does government come into all of this? Because it is a self-regulatory sort of organization, the BC Seniors Living Association.
And government, we work closely with government, and they do have a role in what we do because some of our communities do offer assisted living and some offer a continuum of care and offer long-term care. But for the BC Senior Living Association specifically, the self-governing standard means that we actually adhere to higher standards than most of what's in the registrar or in the Long-Term Care Act. So it is a quality assurance. There are goals to be achieved, and it creates a standard and a sense of safety for for our community members and for everybody seeking this type of lifestyle to know that if you have the BC seal of approval, you've gone through a rigorous adjudication, and it's not earned easily. Having just been through it with one of our communities in the last 12 months, I can attest to how detailed it is and how valuable it is to us as service providers providers in this industry.
So government standards are minimum standards. That's what governments do. So you have established a set of standards that are considerably higher than that and hold all members to those higher standards, correct?
Yes, and we assess the communities every 2 years. And we have just recently written, to complement our seal of approval assessment, a complete policy and procedures binder to go with all of the points that are covered in the assessment. And part of that process is we have given that complete assessment tool to, for an example, BC Housing, who work with us on the ILBC program or the SAFER program for seniors, who some of them may live in our buildings. And I've also sent it over to the Assisted Living Registrar for them to review it. So while they can't officially sanction it, the seal of approval, before we actually launch it out to our communities, we make sure government sees it and approves it and gives us feedback to see, have we missed anything?
Right.
Are we on track? And so we've been working with them now for the last 2 or 3 years on this. And our feedback from them is that it is a very, very high standard and very rigorous.
Right. Allison, do you do also, in terms of government, is there a component to the BC Seniors Living Association that has a lobbying task in terms of bringing issues that are of concern to seniors in BC to the provincial government, or is that something that's left more to the Canadian Association of Retired Persons?
Well, the CARP does a fantastic job in bringing positions forward, but it is absolutely the British Columbia Senior Living Association's mandate to, again, work with government to bring issues right from the ground floor with the people who are living in our member communities, with our members. Throughout British Columbia, they bring things to our attention, or we anticipate things that might be coming up that will affect our membership. And it is always our goal to work very, very closely with government to make sure that we are moving our membership forward, moving policies and procedures forward, and creating positive change within the senior housing industry in general.
All right, Marlene, I'm curious how you would to work with government. On the one hand, you are an organization that represents the accommodations of thousands, many thousands of British Columbia seniors who are very happily ensconced in your communities across the province, and at the same time trying to do effective liaison work with the provincial government that is really bending over backwards to try and get more and more seniors to stay at home. You've got a cross purposes going on there. How do you square that circle, Marlene?
Well, I think one of the roles that we have been working on very, very actively in the last couple of years is to have government see us as a resource, because we are the industry experts for independent living, and in some cases a lot of the assisted living housing aspect of the Assisted Living Registries program. So we want them, but when they're going to be implementing programs, we want them to see us as a resource, to come to us, to talk to us, to use our expertise. Because I think what happens sometimes is government just goes out and puts these wonderful programs out there, but doesn't realize the consequences of some of those programs. So for an example, the Better at Home program is a wonderful, wonderful program, and it has helped a lot of seniors stay in their own home, their family home of many, many years, and get extra services. But they just recently released a report, and it's on their website right now, that one of the challenges they're having with that program is social isolation of the seniors. So while they're getting their grass mowed and their lawn mowed and their food delivered and that type of thing, they're still living alone in their house for probably 12 to 16 hours a day, and they become very isolated, and they're not being involved in any socialization or recreational programs. So that is a result of the first actual survey done from this Better at Home program. And so that's something that needs to be looked at and dealt with from that perspective of the program, which in our particular communities, that's one of the things that we focus on, is the recreation and the socialization.
Absolutely.
And ensuring that the seniors continually have friends and items that they can do. If they want to garden, they can garden. If they want to paint, they can paint. They can do whatever they like in their new home so that they're not isolated.
Okay. Allison, in addition to being on the board of the BC Seniors Living Association, you're also with a company that has seniors communities across Canada, including one on Vancouver Island, which is your original home. Tell us about what's going on over there.
That's true. I was very fortunate. I work for a company called Origin Active Lifestyle Communities, and we built our first property in British Columbia in 2006. We started construction, and I was very lucky to start with the company right from the first shovel in the ground and have worked with them and I'm now working in the sales and marketing role with them as their vice president of sales and marketing, and I'm the West Coast office of Origin Active Lifestyle Communities. And that, I have to say, Central Vancouver Island is a vibrant destination retirement community.
Full of boomers who hate winter, who moved here from every other corner of the country.
They figured it out.
Absolutely.
They figured it out, absolutely. And it is a very active, very thriving community, and there's some fantastic expertise amongst the 65-plus community there, and they're making a change, and they're making a real contribution to Vancouver Island in general, but particularly where we are in Central Vancouver Island.
Well, Marlene, here's another company that's growing, that's expressing interest in planting deeper roots and expanding into British Columbia. Going back to that original question about 10 communities when you first started, you got 153 now. This industry is going through an astonishing growth spurt right now. How long do you think it's going to last?
Well, I can't really talk about how long it's going to last because, there are a lot of retirement communities being built right now, but in some of the areas where the retirement communities need to be built, land is an issue. So a lot of the growth that's going on right now is in more of the outer line areas like Merritt and Vernon and Kitimat and those type of areas where they were farming communities, and now there is an actual need, like Campbell River, for an example. Berwick just opened up their brand new retirement community there, and I think it's 150 odd suites, and they opened their doors and 100 seniors moved in,
Wow.
which is unheard of in Elisa, basically.
So that's back to Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come.
Well, yeah, and so in the other line and the smaller communities, there is a lot of growth opportunity in Vancouver and North Van and Kamloops, and in some of the areas the land isn't available there to be built,
right.
And so it's a bit more of a challenge for the industry for a lot of growth unless they have acquisitions.
So even here in the Lower Mainland, where of course you're absolutely right, land in the city of Vancouver is just ridiculously expensive. So a company like yours then would be interested in maybe Abbotsford or Chilliwack or Mission or Maple Ridge, where you can still buy land at a reasonable price compared to downtown and still be close enough to the big city for all of those amenities. Would that be a compromise that businesses would be looking at?
Absolutely. And active lifestyle communities, senior housing properties, they appeal to a broad spectrum of people with a broad spectrum of income levels. One of the things that we found is that not everybody wants an entry-level property, and not everybody wants a high-end property.
Sure.
One of the benefits of building in some of these outlying areas out of the central population is that people can sell their very, very valuable homes in North Van or on the west side here in Vancouver, and they realize quite a substantial income from profit from that sale, and then they can go and live like kings in a place like Campbell River or Nanaimo or Kamloops or Merritt or Abbotsford or Chilliwack, where some of these lovely communities are being built. And so from a business model, it makes perfect sense.
Well, and here we are. This is Boomer Life, and we're all boomers. And, all of the talk that we're having about seniors living is in the context of our parents. I don't think this is far. I think this is far from over, Marlene. The boomers, we boomers, are the largest single population group of the 20th century. We haven't even arrived yet when it comes to our turn for seniors living and communities, which we will again redefine as we've done for our entire generation. So I would think this growth right now that's serving our parents is going to continue. What do you think?
Well, I think it presents a very a good opportunity because, as you said, it's affecting the boomers. We're not ready to move in this instant, but it will be shortly. And for us, I think it will be a lifestyle change. Right now, a lot of people's parents are moving in because the children are concerned that they don't want them living alone. They don't need all these supports because they're frail, but they're concerned about them living alone in a house.
Right.
So when we move in, though, we're going to sit down and say, you know what? I don't want to mow the lawn. I don't want to do my laundry. I don't want to cook every night. I want to move in someplace that they can take care of me and I can come and go as I please. So I think the growth is going to be in that demographics, that as we get older, we're going to say, I just want to walk away, lock my door, and go spend 4 months in Mexico, or go spend 6 months in Arizona. And you can't do that when you have a home in a lot of cases.
Right.
So the lifestyle component is, I think, going to be the biggest decision factor over the next 5 or 10 years for people moving in the communities.
Allison, are we there already in many cases?
Pardon
Can you move into a seniors community now and buzz off to the desert for a few months, and it's still your home, and everything's looked after while you're gone, but you'll be back when you're good and ready?
We are there. And I would say 10 years ago we weren't there, but now we are absolutely there. And I loved what you said about boomers defining what it's going to look like. They already are. We already are defining what that looks like, because maybe we're choosing for our parents right now. But every time we have people come through our communities, they're like, I want to live here. How do I get into this lifestyle? Because we recognize right away that the things that we're choosing for our parents are things that we want for ourselves, like swimming pools, like a spa, like pedicures, like gourmet dining and wine pairings, and all these phenomenal things that go on in these communities. We're accustomed. We are the people who go to Mexico. We're the people who go to Arizona. We go to these resorts. We're accustomed to being pampered. We want that for our parents. We're choosing that for them, and we also recognize it as something we want for ourselves.
And the curious part about it, we need to take a break. Dwayne's having kittens on the other side of the glass. But the curious part about it is we all love those indulgences, and frankly, who doesn't? But our parents are the children of the Depression.
Yes.
They grew up in an entirely different era where nobody had any money, nobody had anything. So their priorities as a result of that experience in their early years has defined how they've come to accept this. And yet the industry, recognizing the hospitality aspect of it all, is already there. And just, I guess, kind of just sort of marking time until the boomers show up, and then the party really begins.
But you'd be surprised how many of the people who are moving in now are getting very accustomed to the services and the amenities that are being offered very quickly.
I don't question that for a second, but it's a different mindset, isn't it?
It is,
We're talking about seniors living with a couple of representatives from the BC Seniors Living Association, and in the form of Executive Director Marlene Williams and Allison Howard from the Board of Directors. I'm Sterling Fox. This is Boomer Life, and we're back after this.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.